Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, here's what's on the programme this evening.
Covering his face in court, the 18-year-old accused of the Southport stabbings faces new charges. We'll be live with the latest as the Prime Minister says, let the police do their job.
Fire at the factory where the nation's nuclear submarines are made. Residents say they got no warning of the danger.
Invest, invest, invest.
Labour's first budget for years. The Chancellor says it'll be great for growth. At Lily's Deli and Ashton underline they're pleading for more help for small businesses.
Smaller business are the core of the UK. And if you could help them expand, grow, it helps the community.
I can't get you out my mind. No, I've thought about it once or twice.
What a treat from Wigan. We've got the Lathams making musical history as the first act to perform in our studio. We'll be talking to them too.
And in the weather, Halloween is coming, so stay with us for that trick-or-treat forecast. All the details coming up.
So please stay with us for all of that. First tonight, the 18-year-old man accused of the Southport stabbings has appeared in court on two separate charges, one relating to terrorism.
Yeah, Axel Rudakabana hid his face as he appeared before magistrates in Westminster, where people charged with terror offences are usually sent.
He did so amid a political row, with the government accused of keeping information from the public about the suspect.
Our correspondent Victoria Grimes is in Southport now, near the memorial of flowers for the three young girls killed in Southport in the summer. Victoria, tell us what happened in court.
Well, it was a very short hearing this morning at Westminster Magistrates Court. Axel Rudakabana appeared via video link from Belmarsh Prison. He remained silent throughout. He sat holding his jumper over the bottom of his face, and he didn't respond when he was asked to confirm his name. His lawyer said that he's remained silent at previous hearings as well. For reasons of his own, he said, he has chosen not to answer the question. Now, the 18-year-old faces two further charges: production of a biological toxin, ricin, and also possession of information likely to be useful to a person committing or preparing to commit an act of terrorism. This refers to a PDF copy of a file called Military Studies in the Jihad Against the Tyrants, the Al-Qaeda Training Manual. Now, Rudakabana is already charged with the murders of three little girls, BB King, Elsie Dot Stankham and Alice Agia in Southport. The three were stabbed during a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in July. He's also charged with the attempted murder of 10 others.
Victoria, political row has broken out about the new charges faced by Rudakabana.
Yeah, it's after both Conservative leadership candidates cast doubt on the police and government response to the attack. Robert Jenrick suggested that information was being kept from the public, whilst his rival Kemi Badenoch said that the government, police and prosecutors had questions to answer. Well, those comments were addressed by Sir Keir Starmer directly during Prime Minister's questions.
I think it's very important, first and foremost, that in all cases, including the particularly difficult case that the Speaker mentioned earlier, that the police and prosecutors are able to do their difficult job. And all of us in this House have a choice to make, including both candidates to be the next Tory leader. They can either support the police in their difficult task, or they can undermine the police in their difficult task. And I know which side I'm on.
Well, the Crown Prosecution Service and the Home Secretary have warned against any public commentary, reporting or sharing of information online which could prejudice the case. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper said that the most important thing is to get justice for BB, Alice and Elsie and their heartbroken families. Nobody should put that at risk. Axel Rudakabana is next due in court in Liverpool in November.
Victoria Grimes in Southport for us tonight. Thank you.
Well, next, and people living just yards from the BAE Systems nuclear submarine making plant in Barrow say they didn't get any warning after a serious fire broke out there in the early hours of this morning.
Cumbria Fire Brigade pointed out there was no nuclear risk to the area, but still started the day by advising people to stay indoors and keep their doors and windows closed.
Our reporter Jennifer Buck is outside the factory now. Jennifer, what have people there been telling you?
Well, I've spent the day here in Barrow, and for many people who were working at this building at BAE Systems, it was a day off today. And for many of the workers I spoke to, they said that was a relief to have a little bit of downtime. They described to me when they were working last night when the fire broke out and how quickly the flames spread throughout the building. Now, they described feeling frightened and overwhelmed. Now, they told me that they were evacuated quite quickly, but they said they were pleased to have the day off today. Now, the fire broke out in the early hours of this morning in the large building you can see behind me, which is Devonshire Dock Hall. Now, several workers have suggested to me that possibly a piece of equipment could have malfunctioned and exploded, which may have caused the fire. Now, the investigation is still ongoing with the cause to be confirmed. Now, the pictures that were taken by residents living just across the road from the building where the fire took place show the billowing black smoke and the flames visible through the vents in the building. Now, those residents told me that they woke up to the smell of smoke and looked out to see the flames, and they told me that they felt frightened and just went simply back inside.
And Jennifer, what have the fire service said?
Now, the emergency services have said this evening that they have stood down their major incident response. Now, they have had teams here dampening down today. Now, this huge building that you can see behind me is where the nuclear submarines are built, but the emergency services were quick to say today that there was never any nuclear threat. Now, the residents we spoke to said they never actually received any warning to stay indoors or about any possible threat of pollution, even though the fire service said that they did warn some of the residents. The people we spoke to said they went out, smelt smoke, saw the flames and just decided themselves to stay indoors. Now, all of those warnings have now been lifted and the clean-up here is continuing with the hope that the workers at this building will be able to return soon.
OK, Jennifer, thank you.
Now to the first Labour budget for 14 years. Rachel Reeves turned up a blend of pain and gain in Parliament today.
Yeah, she's telling us it's a budget to, and we quote, fix the foundations and deliver change, rebuilding the North West and investing in the region's future economic growth. They say working people won't see higher taxes, while NHS waiting lists will be cut and hospitals, schools and roads will be rebuilt.
Of course, the opposition take a different view and opinions were mixed among those we spoke to as our teams went out gauging reaction in the region.
Our political correspondent Leisha McNally has more.
Shoppers here in Burnley picked Labour at the last election, bargaining on better economic times ahead. But has the new government won their long-term loyalty, or is it already a case of buyer's remorse?
At the start, I used to be really confident. I thought that it would be a good fresh start for the UK. But ever since, I've not really been too keen on what they've been doing.
Not looking after their own, that's the problem. We're losing the winter fuel allowance, which is wrong. Definitely wrong.
I just think that Starmer's come in now and he's actually promised the people a lot of things that he's not delivered. He's like, for myself, I'm an ex-veteran. There's veterans on the streets.
So this little red box has a big job to do to keep Labour's grip on its northern seats. The Chancellor's first budget was packed with promises, £6.7 billion for schools, with plans for more than 500 new ones, and a massive £22.6 billion for the NHS. There was also more cash for carers, funding for programmes to help get people back into work, and more government borrowing to invest in infrastructure like railways and roads.
Change must be felt. More pounds in people's pockets. An NHS that is there when you need it. An economy that is growing, creating wealth and opportunity for all. Because that is the only way to improve living standards.
Another offer, a much higher minimum wage, up by 6.7%, a welcome measure for this bartender in Cheshire.
I mean, it'll help paying bills such as car insurance, petrol, just getting to work here and there, and it'll give me more of a disposable income as well.
The government's trying to sell a bargain. Taxes now for long-term growth later, and businesses aren't all buying it. This deli owner in Ashton-under-Lyne watched as the Chancellor confirmed a hike in his national insurance payments.
I do not take this decision lightly. We are asking businesses to contribute more.
He says it's left a bitter taste.
Increases your overall payroll. Everything gets increased. It's going to have an effect on the business. It's going to have an effect on your bottom line. We need to see where that takes us as a business as well. Is that going to mean reduced employees, or is it going to be higher prices? A lot of our employees have been with us for 7, 10, 15 years. And to say, oh, well, sorry, we can't afford you now, it's not fair.
This is a budget balancing act. Higher taxes and cuts means more cash for investment. And back in Burnley Market, this optician doesn't mind paying more as long as he sees it doing some good.
The country was starved of investment. I drive up and down the M6 and it's a main road and it's full of potholes, our streets round here. GPs, don't get me started on GPs.
Politically, this budget is a big gamble, so is there enough here for North West MPs to sell to their voters?
The Prime Minister said this would be a painful budget. How painful do you think it was? This is a budget that outlines how the pain will be taken by those with the broadest shoulders, and that's where we are seeing some tax increases. We inherited an incredibly difficult position, some of the worst situation of public finances, as well as public services absolutely on their knees. And there were difficult decisions to be taken, but fundamentally we have kept our manifesto commitments, and working people will benefit from this. Every first budget since 1992 has raised taxes. Realistically, would a Conservative budget look any different?
It would look massively different. You cannot have the tail wagging the dog. This is targeting business and working people to fund a major expansion of the state, at the same time fiddling with the fiscal rules, which mean we can see unfettered borrowing. This will be being paid off in generations, and the effects of this will last for decades.
The Chancellor says she set the country on the road to economic growth. The big question is who might get left behind.
Alicia joins us now. Alicia, we've heard some reaction from the North West to the budget, but there are some plans in there too for our part of the world.
That's right. Long gone are the days where chancellors had multiple rabbits to pull out of the hat come budget day, but we did get some detail about what the government wants to do with its investment wriggle room, and top of the list was trains. It's pledged to upgrade the Transpennine route between Manchester and York. They say it'll mean more frequent, faster trains and pave the way for Northern Powerhouse Rail. That's a promise many budgets, many governments and many years in the making, so passengers will be watching very closely to see if it finally comes good. We've also had a pledge on housing. The Liverpool City region is set to get more than 50 million to build 2,000 homes. And we heard one of Labour's favourite words, devolution, more powers for the regional mayors. Greater Manchester is going to get what's called an integrated settlement. That basically means it gets 3 years worth of local funding in one go, and Andy Burnham gets to decide how to spend it. That's instead of having lots of little pots of money for lots of different projects. And Steve Rotherham over in Liverpool is set to get the same deal in 2026. Now, by then, the government's hoping that this plan of investment for long-term growth will finally come good. That would wipe today's headlines, which is effectively the biggest tax rises in recent political history, would wipe it out of people's memories if they're feeling better off, if classrooms aren't crumbling, if NHS waiting lists have been slashed. So this government is really gambling on growth, and if they win, that's the next election won. If they don't win, well, people will say they've paid for a promise that never came. Lots riding on this one, although one final note, whatever happens, this budget has earned its place in the history books. It's the first delivered by a female chancellor.
Alicia, thank you.
Well, there's lots more on the budget in the ITV Evening News at 6:30. Here's Mary with the headlines.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, comprehensive coverage of this Labour government's first budget. Rachel Reeves unveils £40 billion in tax rises as she pledges billions for the NHS and education. So who'll pay, how much, and where will the cash go? Also, at least 62 people are dead after flash floods in Spain. Torrential rain battered the Valencia region, leaving scenes of utter devastation. And Liverpool unites in a bid to save a beloved children's hospice. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
So, we met our next guests way back in the summer of 2020, just a few months into the first lockdown. Remember that?
How could we forget? Well, it was part of our Granada Introducing series, showcasing the region's best new music. And we don't like to take all the credit for their success, but Wigan band The Lathams have since had 2 #1 albums. And this summer, they played a huge homecoming show.
Yeah, the band performed to 12,500 fans at Robin Park, their biggest gig yet. So what next? Well, in the last hour, they've announced a new album and tour. I caught up with them earlier and asked just what that homecoming gig felt like.
Yeah, it was unreal. We, I think us three all did sports day at Robin Park in high school.
Yeah.
So
Matty's a Scouser, but they did allow him in.
He did it somewhere in Liverpool, but for us to see all them people there where we was doing sports day, these kids was very surreal.
Always like hoped and dreamed for it, but I never expected it to be like real, and let alone in Wigan as well.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone I actually knew was there.
Big announcement today, 3rd album. You managed to get past the tricky 2nd album stage that trips up so many bands. Got past it with style. What's the 3rd one hold?
Couldn't be more proud of it, really. I think we've all been really happy with the process of this album as well.
Yeah, it's worked well. We've matured into our roles a bit more now, I'd say, and we're used to like being in the studio and the stress of picking the songs and stuff. It kind of all just really worked and fell together this time.
But even like Stellarcast, that wasn't going to be on the album, and then it ends up becoming like something else because we're all in a room playing it. And then that's when the magic kind of comes together and you realise there's a proper song there, like.
There's a track record here. Album's going to #1. 3rd one's surely got to do the same thing. You can't go breaking that run.
It's never been really a goal for us. It's a very, very, very big achievement when it happens. But yeah, 3 in a row would be brilliant. It'd be a nice for the storybooks.
Hat trick.
Yeah, it would. It would be really nice. That I'd be really proud of it. But
we're a bit proud of you too. I mean, you know, it's a long way from Granada Introducing on our very own show back in 2020.
Yeah.
I think I was back in your old garden, wasn't it?
Yeah, back garden. What was it, 2 metres apart?
There was a lot of distancing back then, that's for sure.
Social distancing, yeah.
Big tour coming up. You've already played some really special stages. Which of the venues on the new tour excites you the most?
Brixton Academy for me, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It was one of our first big venues. We ever played that with Jerry Cinnamon back in the day.
Yeah.
You guys all got together in college, and you've got this fun together trying to help other people express themselves through music. Chance to See. Tell me about that, because that's a really big deal.
Yeah, just to help the youth of Wigan, because obviously we came from that background and there wasn't much in terms of help or any kind of services or places to go.
Like obviously the earlier you start with anything, the better you're going to be when you get to an age of putting it into action kind of thing. So like stuff like this to have for kids that aren't as fortunate, don't have a place to put a drum kit or whatever.
They're not cheap as well.
No, there's nothing musical is cheap.
All different bits as well.
So something like this would have, I'd have jumped on that opportunity as a child, just to have a place to go and like, even if you don't know if you want to do it, but just to try it out and like try everything out, and it's just like I say, I would have jumped on that as a child. So it's nice that we can provide it for like-minded people.
Yeah.
Well, gents, doing good work with the fund and the tour and the album and spring. Wish you the very best with it, and thank you so much for coming in. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure. They were brilliant. Loved that.
Yeah, they look like great crack.
They were really good fun.
I should have come in earlier.
You
got
should
the
have
best
done.
job of the day.
Yeah, it's not bad that. Stick around. Something that's going to make her even more jealous she wasn't here earlier in just a little while.
Looking forward to it. Right, time for some sports news, and Manchester United supporters are eagerly awaiting news on their new manager. Sporting Lisbon boss Ruben Amorim looks set to take over at Old Trafford after both clubs agreed on a compensation package. But it's understood Sporting want an extra payment to release Amorim immediately. Speaking after his side played last night, Amorim said nothing had been decided yet.
We have to wait a little bit more to explain everything I need to explain, and then it will be very clear. It's my decision. I will tell everything. So we have to wait. That's it.
Well, tonight, Ruud van Nistelrooy will take charge of United in their League Cup tie at home to Leicester City. Also in action in the last 16, Manchester City are at Spurs. Reigning cup holders Liverpool are away to Brighton, and Championship side Preston North End, they're hoping to pull off a shock against Arsenal.
Bolton Wanderers have climbed into the League One playoff places. They're hitting some form after a slow start to the season. They won 4-1 at Stevenage and have now lost only once in their last 8 league games. Stockport County were also emphatic winners last night. They beat Reading also 4-1 at Edgeley Park. While in League 2, Fleetwood Town looked set to take maximum points against Salford City. They led 2-1 deep into stoppage time before Salford snatched a point.
We have got a Granada Reports first coming up in just a tick. Do not go anywhere. First, though, here's the weather with them.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, very good evening to you. It's nearly Halloween and some of us have been hard at work preparing. Sarah's pumpkin on the right there and Amanda's on the left. And I don't think the forecast is going to squash the mood at all either, because it's going to be largely dry out there. Quite cloudy tomorrow evening, a bit misty over the hills, so some spooky weather over the tops of higher ground. Feeling mild, but some clearer spells towards parts of Cheshire and Merseyside. So high pressure is still in charge. It's still that cloudy high sitting across the UK that's been in charge for the last few days and remains so for pretty much the rest of the week. Bit of a squeeze on the isobars tomorrow. You see that cold front moving through on Friday, lingering a little bit on Saturday, but high pressure then re-establishes itself, reorientates, and we're expecting it to feel a little bit cooler over the weekend, but also it should be brighter by Sunday. Rewinding to the next few hours, though, there's still a lot of cloud around the region. Very little changes overnight. The cloud lowering onto the tops of hills, so a bit misty over higher ground, and temperatures around 10 or 11 Celsius, possibly cooler than that under any clearer slots with only light winds. Into tomorrow then, the sun is up at 7:10 and sets about 20 to 5 in the evening. So we're expecting it to be quite a cloudy start to the day. That mist over the hills will lift. It's in the usual places, the Pennines, the Lake District, and through the day, well, the cloud really does cling. It should get a little bit gusty as well over higher ground, and generally it should be a breezier day. And because we've got these longer nights and shorter days, we aren't getting as much heat really, so it's not going to feel fantastic, those temperatures, although they're still above average for the time of year. Spotted drizzle from that cold front dropping southwards on Friday, but that's later in the day and overnight into Saturday, so it should start to clear up from Saturday onwards. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Emma, and that's it for tonight, apart from a little bit of music history.
Yeah, we're delighted to say the Lathams from Wigan, who we spoke to just before, are going to play us out tonight. It is a big moment for us, as it's the first time we've ever had a band play in our Studio 2 area. It's just over there. You can't see it, it's out of the frame.
So it's good night from us, and from the Lathams with an acoustic version of their new single, Stellarcast.
2, 3, 4. There's a stellar cast, an anticipated gale, and I can't see past this Jamaican air. It's making me wobbly, it's almost sent me to my knees. Well, I need to learn more from this mystic I see before me. I left with more questions, she's like nothing I've ever seen. No, I can't get you out my night. You are the goddess, you are the dark. You blast me into pixels, I say ow, ow, ow. Are you my friend, are you my foe, are you my lover or betrothed? I just don't know. You are the smoke, inhale and blow. You burn me like a match and then you go, go, go. I'm not sorry that I met you, but the tail's wagging the dog, I beg you please. No, I can't get you out of my mind. No, I've thought about it once or twice. Try. Hey. Chance to die, my lover. One more breath to say I wouldn't try.